25 through 42. It's a long one, buckle in. A legal expert stood up to test Jesus. "Teacher," he said, "what must I do to gain eternal life?" Jesus replied, "What is written in the law? How do you interpret it?" He responded, "You must love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your being, with all your strength, and with all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself." Jesus said to him, "You have answered correctly. Do this and you will live." But the legal expert wanted to prove that he was right. So he said to Jesus, "And who is my neighbor?" Jesus replied, "A man went down from Jerusalem to Jericho. He encountered thieves who stripped him naked, beat him, and left him near death. Now it just so happened that a priest was also going down the same road. When he saw the injured man, he crossed over to the other side of the road and went on his way. Likewise, a Levite came by that spot, saw the injured man, and crossed over to the other side of the road and went on his way. A Samaritan who was on a journey came to where the man was, but when he saw him, he was moved with compassion. The Samaritan went to him and bandaged his wounds, tending them with oil and wine. Then he placed the wounded man on his own donkey, took him to an inn, and took care of him. The next day he took 2 full days' worth of wages and gave them to the innkeeper. He said, "Take care of him, and when I return, I will pay you back for any additional costs." What do you think? Which one of these 3 was a neighbor to the man who encountered thieves? The legal expert said, "The one who demonstrated mercy toward him," Jesus told him. "Go and do likewise." While Jesus and his disciples were traveling, Jesus entered a village where a woman named Martha welcomed him as a guest. She had a sister named Mary who sat at the Lord's feet and listened to his message. By contrast, Martha was preoccupied with getting everything ready for their meal. So Martha came to him and said, "Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to prepare the table all by myself? Tell her to help me." The Lord answered, "Martha, Martha, you are worried and distracted by many things. One thing is necessary. Mary has chosen the better part. It won't be taken away from her."
Good morning. Oh, I can't tell you how wonderful it is to be back here and to see all of these faces that I've known for so many years. Um, for those of you who don't know me, I moved here with my family in 2001 and raised 4 children here, and people here at the church helped as we brought one home from the hospital and buried one, married one, sent 4 off to college with the support of the church, sent me off to Africa multiple times with the support of the church. So I just feel very grateful to this church. So thank you. And I'm delighted to be here. So Julie read this long scripture, and there was kind of a lot to work with. It was a little bit intimidating. But as Carol reminded me this morning, you're just sharing, you're not preaching. Yeah, so I'm sharing. I'm sharing this morning. Um, so yeah, we've got the 3 stories in the sermon. First, the lawyer story, and then the story of the Good Samaritan and the story of Martha and Mary. Um, what jumped out at me when I was thinking about giving a message on this text was the very first words, the loving God with all our hearts and all our souls. The translation I was using used the soul, so I'll probably use the word soul instead of being. All our souls, all our strength, and all our mind. Mind comes last, interestingly. And the word all also jumped out at me, all. And I think I chose this to focus on over the last few weeks because it seems so difficult for me personally. Um, so, and I think in terms of why this is important, uh, the idea to focus on loving God with all of our heart, all of our soul, all of our strength, and all of our mind is one, there's text in the Psalms and in the scriptures that talk about how, at the end of our lives, it's one of the things we'll kind of be judged on. It's like God, and I'm going to be quoting a lot from the Psalms as kind of a scriptural practice. I try to read the Psalms every week. And I don't always make it, but I try. So in trying to interpret this text, I kind of went through all the Psalms to see like all the references to heart and soul and mind and strength, but which proved to be too ambitious for me. I'll just say right off the bat. I kind of did okay with heart, but that's about as far as I got. So, and then I ran out of time. So I will be quoting a lot from the Psalms, but and the idea of being judged, kind of, there's language like in Psalm 7, you God test the mind and the heart. And Psalm 17, weigh my heart. 26, examine my heart and mind. And then God knows the secrets of the heart. And there's one, if there had been evil in my heart, search me out and know my heart, know my restless thoughts. So, so it's important for us to focus on it as well. So when I was trying to think about, the other reason I think it's important, when you look at the three stories, kind of the lawyer and the Good Samaritan and the Martha and Mary. I mean, regarding the Good Samaritan story, and the person laying by the side of the road who's been, robbed and stripped and beaten. I know that right now in the world there are tens of millions of people who are suffering in the same way, who've been robbed, who are just about naked, who are hungry. So it's important to listen to these messages for that reason. And then because there are so many people in need and suffering and in need of help. And then secondly, with the Martha being distracted, something I totally relate to, we have so many distractions right now. At least I'm feeling so many distractions and being pulled in so many different ways by both the enormity of the need and just kind of the general noise. So trying to learn ways to focus on God with all of our hearts, all of our souls, all of our strength, and all of our mind is especially important at this moment. Um, so onto working on the heart. So I looked first. Well, first one way I came to think of these, it really is over my head. I'll just tell you my disclaimer. In terms of thinking about what is the heart, what is the soul, what is the mind. It was interesting to think about. But the one way I kind of have been thinking about it is like a cart being pulled by a horse with a driver. And so I'm looking at and it's carrying a precious cargo. And I'm looking at the precious cargo as the soul. So the precious cargo is the soul being carried in this cart. The cart is the body, which is kind of holding the precious soul. And the horse is the heart, which is kind of pulling in multiple different directions, as I'll talk about. So you've got the horse and then you've got the mind that's trying to kind of guide the horse. So that's kind of my overall. That's how I kind of visualize this thing, with the soul just coming from God and being the precious cargo and not changing very much. The horse being kind of volatile and the mind kind of trying to hold it together and the body just having to be maintained, in order to hold the soul. So I'll go on with the heart. So one of the things that stuck up, there are all kinds of heart references in the Psalms, many. And so I kind of broke them into categories. One is about feelings, like the whole range. This is why it's fun to read the Psalms, because there are so many different feelings expressed. It's like the whole range of human emotions. So one I kind of broke into feelings, and then one kind of desires or things that lead you in one path or another. Uh, and then there's also text about how God strengthens the heart. So I'll start with the feelings, because there really is tons. So, and they're kind of pleasurable ones and kind of challenging ones. So there are many passages related to joy. You've put gladness in my heart more than when there's a lot of grain and wine and oil. My heart is joyful because of your saving help. Your statutes rejoice the heart. My heart trusts in you, therefore my heart dances for joy. My heart sings to you. Our heart rejoices in you. My heart and flesh rejoice in the living God. Let the hearts of those who seek you rejoice. Your decrees are the joy of my heart. My heart therefore is glad and my spirit rejoices. My body also shall rest in hope. So there's a lot of overlap between, and there's a lot of interconnection between these. So joy was one of the ones with the most references. And then gratitude. I'll give thanks to you, God, with my whole heart. One variety that comes out, or variation comes out in like 4 different Psalms, giving thanks with your whole heart. And then courage and being strong and let your heart take courage. And then awe, the idea of being in awe of God. My heart stands in awe. So there's an equal number kind of to challenging feelings. Um, there's fear. My heart within my breast is melting wax. The king's enemies are losing heart. My heart quakes within me. Their hearts melted because of their peril. These are just some of the different feelings related to fear. And then there's a whole slew of them about grief and sadness and shame. How long shall I have perplexity in my mind and grief in my heart day after day? God is near to the brokenhearted. Their sword shall go through their own heart. The groaning of my heart is pounding. My heart fails me. Uh, the sacrifice of God is a troubled spirit and a broken and contrite heart. Reproach or shame has broken my heart and it cannot be healed. When my mind became embittered, I was sorely wounded in my heart. My heart is smitten like grass. My spirit faints within me. My heart is desolate. Then there's another group about anger and hatred, kind of. What on anger we've got. Okay, this is one of my favorites. My heart was hot within me. While I pondered, the fire burst into flame. So you kind of got like an exploding heart. So you've got melting, smitten, exploding. Their speech is softer than butter, but war is in their hearts. And then this is regarding the Egyptians, 105, whose hearts you turned. God turned these hearts so that they hated your people. So that one's always been kind of hard to understand why God would turn people's hearts against others. So that's in the category of things that someday will be clear. I have a list of them. Uh, those who close their heart to pity, and there is destruction in their hearts. So you've got all these feelings. If you think of the horse again, kind of pulling the horse this way and that, and trying to, and we all deal with them. We all deal with all these kinds of emotions, or have to try to deal with them. Um, then there's a whole section or a whole group of different Psalms that talk about kind of the integrity of the heart. Having a whole heart. You say there are several references to people who are true in heart, that should be our goal, to be true in heart, have a pure heart, clean hands and a pure heart. I prayed with my whole heart. This kind of on courage. Our heart never turned back, nor did our footsteps stray. Create in me, I use this for the reflection, create in me a clean heart and renew a right spirit within me. My heart is fixed. There's different things about the heart being fixed, or kind of steady. I think steady is the word that I took away, one of the most. Those who turn their hearts to you, knit my heart to you. Okay, naughty ladies, I know that's not quite nitty. Sew my heart to you, knit my heart to you. I lost my place, sorry. Knit my heart to you that I may fear your name. And then all the true of heart will follow. Harden not your hearts. There will be gladness for those who are true hearted. I walk with sincerity of heart in my own house. My heart is firmly fixed. Their heart is right. It is established. So an established heart or fixed, and it will not shrink like the Grinch, So, Will not shrink. Will seek you with all their hearts. People who have an unfeigned heart. Your promise is in my heart. This is also one of my favorites. You have set my heart at liberty. It's something like, I will run, for you have set my heart free. So having a free heart. Let my heart be sound. I obey your decrees with all my heart. And more references to the true of heart. Give me understanding, which kind of goes to the mind, and I shall keep it with all my heart. And then let not my heart incline to any evil thing. So that's kind of on the category more about the heart and how, well, we kind of try to take care of it or manage our hearts. Uh, the heart is also described as a place of desires, uh, where the wicked boast of their heart's desire. And then may you receive your heart's desire is in a couple places. Set not your heart upon wealth. Uh, their hearts overflow. This is on the kind of the negative side. Their hearts overflow with wicked thoughts or gross minds. And then in Psalm 36, a voice of rebellion deep in the heart. So then there's one where we can kind of, there's a group of Psalms that's more about as a place of wisdom, speaking to your heart, listening. And I think this is what helps us to maybe manage the heart as we're trying to drive this cart with the precious cargo. Um, Speak to your heart in silence upon your bed. Speak truthfully from the heart. My heart teaches me night after night. May the meditation of my heart be acceptable in your sight. You speak in my heart. Your law is deep in my heart. Your righteousness I have not hidden in my heart. I've shared it. My heart is stirring with a noble song. My heart shall meditate on understanding. Pour out your hearts before the one who is our refuge. I commune with my heart in the night. So teach us to number our days that we may apply our hearts to wisdom. And I have applied my heart to fulfill your statutes. Then on kind of the heart as the troublemaker, there are also verses that say, speaking to people who are fighting with sin, really. They say in their heart, I won't be shaken, no harm will happen to me ever. Or they say in their heart, God has forgotten, God has looked away and will never notice. And then why should the wicked say in their heart, you, God, do not care? Or the foolish say in their hearts, there's no God. Or don't let my enemies say in their hearts just what we want. Their heart collects false rumors. They bless with their lips, but in their heart they curse. So you've kind of got these whole range of emotions. You've got the horse kind of pulling this way and that way. You've got the mind kind of trying to guide the horse, and you've got the precious cargo, and you've got the cart that may or may not be falling apart. It's like, I think, but I was trying to figure out how we navigate these challenges of the world now. Uh, all of the people lying by the side of the road. Um, we've got all the people lying by the side of the road, and we've got so many distractions. I think there's a lot of I don't have the answer first. Spoiler alert. I don't know exactly, except that all that I've learned from preparing for this message is to try to take the steadiness from the heart, try to listen to the good that God has put in our hearts, listen to the wisdom that God has put in our hearts. That's kind of when try to recognize first that you have emotions. At first I didn't know good emotions and bad emotions, but there really aren't feelings that are bad. They're just feelings. So you've got these things pulling you in different directions. First, I think recognize that you have them, and then do your best to try to use them to constructive effect. That's what we can do, I think, with the heart. And then with the soul, I don't know that there's that much you can do except to try to keep it untarnished, I guess. It's clean and not too burdened with stuff being piled on top of it, and to recognize its value, to recognize that we and every person on this planet have a soul, that there are however many billion precious souls on this planet. And just to remember that every one of them is precious and a part of us and a part of God. So that's the soul and the strength. The strength I just think of as the body and kind of our well, there's physical strength and mental strength, emotional strength. I mean, do our best to maintain our strength, build up our strength, both by body and soul and mind and heart. So do our best to take care of it. And then the mind. I think just trying to study the wisdom that we've been given and use our intellect as best as we can. So that's my message. So thank you for letting me share it.